You are watching a man board a ship. Southampton, September 1945. His name is John Maynard Keynes, Economist, 62. His heart is failing. He is sailing to Washington. Not as an intellectual, but as a supplicant. In his briefcase, calculations showing Britain has 6 months left before financial collapse. 6 months before the nation that defeated Hitler cannot feed its people. He believes he has a moral case. Britain fought alone while America stayed neutral. Britain sacrificed everything for Western civilization. Therefore, America owes Britain a grant. He is wrong. 6 years earlier, Britain was the wealthiest nation on Earth. The British Empire controlled 13.7 million square miles, 24% of the world's land surface. British citizens owned $22 billion in overseas investments. The City of London was the financial center of the world. Britain held more gold than any nation except the United States. By September 1945, it was gone. The mythology says America saved Britain from Hitler. The record shows something else. America bought Britain, piece by piece, asset by asset, while German bombs were falling. December 1940. Winston Churchill writes to Franklin Roosevelt, "Britain is broke. The Treasury cannot pay for American supplies. In 7 months of war, Britain has spent everything." This letter is taught as a desperate plea between allies. Read it carefully. Churchill is not asking for help. He is negotiating liquidation. The American response comes from Henry Morgenthau Jr., Treasury Secretary, Roosevelt's closest advisor. Morgenthau demands a complete audit of British assets worldwide. Every company, every investment, every ounce of gold. Britain must prove it is destitute before receiving a single dollar. British negotiator Sir Frederick Phillips protests. Britain has already sold its gold. Forcing asset sales during war will be a fire sale. Pennies on the dollar. Morgenthau is unmoved. His position is simple. If Britain still has assets in America, why should American taxpayers pay? Liquidate first. The desperate party has no negotiating power. This happens when survival depends on external support. The system rewards the creditor. It punishes the debtor. The creditor sets the price. The debtor accepts or dies. Britain owned American Viscose Corporation, largest manufacturer of rayon in America, worth over $100 million. Generated $10 million annually in dividends flowing to London. Morgenthau told British negotiators to sell it immediately. Deposit the proceeds in the U.S. Treasury. The British resisted. Selling during war under duress meant financial suicide. Morgenthau gave an ultimatum. Sell American Viscose or Lend-Lease, dies in Congress. March 1941. The British government seized American Viscose from its owners under emergency war powers. No negotiation. American investment bankers handled the sale. They knew Britain had to sell. They drove a merciless bargain. American Viscose sold for $54 million, half its actual value. The British government paid courtholds in pounds in London, adding to Britain's internal debt. The dollars went straight to the U.S. Treasury. This was not a transaction between allies. This was a foreclosure. But American Viscose was just the beginning. Morgenthau forced Britain to sell $650 million in U.S. securities. British owned shares in American companies across every industry. Investment portfolios built over a century. By mid-1941, Britain had liquidated $1.1 billion in American assets, equivalent to $22 billion today. The U.S. Treasury tracked every sale, verified the proceeds. Only after liquidation was complete did Lend-Lease funds begin flowing. Picture a British investor. London, March 1941. She owns shares in American railroads. Her grandfather bought them in 1890. They paid dividends quarterly, stable income for 50 years. The government requisitions the shares, emergency war powers. She receives pounds in London. The shares sell in New York for half their value. The dollars pay for weapons. The income stream ends forever. Aid does not come free. Aid comes with conditions. Those conditions reshaped the recipient's economic structure permanently. Buried in the Lend-Lease agreement was Article 7. It required Britain to eliminate discriminatory treatment in international commerce after the war. That sounds benign. Free trade, open markets. Discriminatory treatment was code for Imperial Preference. Imperial Preference was the economic wall holding the British Empire together. A system of tariffs where British goods were cheaper in Empire markets than foreign goods. Canada, Australia, India, South Africa bought British products because British products had preferential rates. This protected British industry from American competition. American cars were better. American machinery was more efficient. But in Empire markets, British goods were cheaper because of tariffs. Article 7 required Britain to dismantle Imperial Preference. After the war, Britain had to tear down its own economic walls and let American companies compete freely in Empire markets. The British negotiators understood. It was the death warrant of the Empire as an economic unit. But German bombers were overhead. U-boats were in the Atlantic. Britain signed. While Britain fought with American equipment, American industry boomed. U.S. GDP grew 75% during war years. American factories produced weapons for war and consumer goods for global markets. Britain converted every factory to war production. British companies abandoned markets in Latin America, Asia, Africa. Who filled those markets? American companies. While British factories made Spitfires, American factories made Spitfires and refrigerators, radios, cars, tractors for the entire world. The United States fought the war while simultaneously capturing Britain's commercial future. Aid termination happens at the moment of maximum leverage, when the recipient is most vulnerable, when dependency is complete. August 15, 1945. Japan surrenders. 7 days later, President Truman signs Executive Order 9620. Lend-Lease terminates immediately. American supply ships in the middle of the Atlantic are ordered to turn around. No transition period. No grace period. The lifeline is cut. The British government is paralyzed. They assumed aid would continue during Reconstruction. The British economy has been distorted entirely for war production. Factories need conversion back to civilian production. That takes time. Britain is importing half its food and nearly all raw materials, paid for with Lend-Lease dollars. Without those dollars, Britain faces starvation. Keynes calculates Britain faces financial Dunkirk. Within months, Britain will default on payments, stop importing food, ration down to starvation levels. There is one option. Britain must beg for a loan. September 1945. Keynes, dying from heart disease, travels to Washington. He believes he has a moral case. Britain fought alone for 2 years. Britain sacrificed its entire economy. Therefore, America should give Britain a grant. $6 billion, not a loan, a gift. The American negotiators, led by Fred Vinson, are unmoved. The war is over. The American public is tired of paying for Europe. Congress is suspicious of Britain's new Labour government. The Americans offer a loan, not a grant. $3.75 billion at 2% interest. Barely enough to survive. It comes with one devastating condition. Sterling convertibility. Within 1 year of receiving the loan, Britain must make the pound fully convertible. Anyone holding British pounds can exchange them for US dollars. During the war, Britain forced its colonies to accept payments in pounds, but forbidden them from converting pounds to dollars. This created a closed loop. Countries like India, Australia, Egypt had pounds, but could only spend them on British goods. The system protected British industry. The Americans want it destroyed. They know if the pound becomes convertible, everyone holding pounds will immediately sell them to buy dollars. American goods are superior. Everyone wants American products. Keynes knows this condition will destroy Britain. He fights against it until his health collapses. The alternative is starvation. Britain has no choice. The Anglo-American Loan Agreement is signed July 1946. Keynes dies April 1946. His heart gives out under the stress. July 15, 1947. Britain makes the pound sterling convertible. The result is massacre. The moment the window opens, the world rushes to sell pounds. In 1 month, Britain loses hundreds of millions from the loan. After 5 weeks, Britain suspends convertibility. Britain has burned through 1/4 of the loan in 5 weeks for nothing. February 1947. Britain sends a telegram to the U.S. State Department. For a century, Britain has been the guardian of Greece and Turkey, keeping Soviet influence out of the Mediterranean. The telegram says, "We can no longer afford it. We are leaving." This triggers the Truman Doctrine. The United States steps in. It is the formal acknowledgement that Britain is no longer a superpower. The loan itself was not forgiven. It was commercial debt, with 2% annual interest. Every year for 6 decades, the British Treasury wrote a check to the United States Treasury. Through economic boom, through inflation, through privatizations, the payments continued. December 29, 2006, the final payment. $83.3 million, 61 years after victory. By 1945, the United States held 2/3 of the world's gold reserves. The dollar replaced the pound as global reserve currency. American military bases circled the globe. The U.S. had achieved global dominance not through conquest, but through debt. The United States acquired the assets, the bases, the markets, the geopolitical influence in a distressed asset sale managed by the U.S. Treasury. Keynes sailed to Washington believing America owed Britain justice. He returned with a loan that would take 61 years to repay. He died 4 months later.